Hello everybody, this is English for You, the program that helps you improve your English, enrich your vocabulary and sharpen your listening and speaking skills. Welcome. In the studio today I have Kata. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
You're not too tired?
A bit, just a bit.
Just a bit. Szabolcs, how's everything?
Me too. Everything's fine.
Good. Victor, how's it hanging?
I'm great, but we had to change seats, so I'm a bit confused here.
Okay. Well, Victoria, what's up?
Everything's fine.
Good. Today's special guest is Professor Max Gilman from the United States. Max, thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Max has been lecturing at Central European University at the Department of Economics. And here is my first problem. We're going to have two words here. The first problem is a language problem. It's very difficult to say these two words. And the first is going to be economics. Economics. Everybody, please, would you say it?
Economics.
Excellent. And the second is economist.
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 Now, I know that a doctor cures patients, and I know that a teacher teaches students, and also that an architect designs buildings. What does an economist do?
That's a good question. An economist studies markets, the prices and the quantities that are produced in markets.
Right, so you can put it that simple. Very good. Now, sometimes we pull our guest's leg a little, just a little. And this is going to be a sort of leg pulling activity, if you don't mind.
All right.
Kata, you are going to be an engineer. You're going to be a lawyer. And you are going to be, Victor, you're going to be the economist. Okay. And this is going to be a joke, and your part is going to come up on the projector. And the joke goes like this. An engineer and a lawyer and an economist were arguing whose job came first, okay? And the engineer said, Kata?
God created the universe out of chaos. That was an engineering job.
Yes, chaos, the universe before there was order, and metaphorically, chaos is confusion, okay? Now, the lawyer said, wait a minute, hang on a second, and he added,
The Bible says that in the beginning was the word, the law. So lawyers came first.
Good. By this time, the economist was laughing and asked, ha 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 again. And
who do you think created the chaos?
Right. So, do you think it's a fair joke or it's a very unfair one? In other words, can economists mess things up pretty bad?
They can cause trouble. They can have bad policy or good policy.
Can you come up with an example of both? So bad policies and positive good policies?
Well, sure. I would say the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, after the transition in 1989, they advised governments to set very high tax rates, like 40%, like in the United States. But these countries had never been paying taxes before, so there was massive tax evasion in all of these transition countries. The tax rates were set too high, and that contributes to a bad atmosphere of evasion of taxes, corruption. Now, a good policy would be, for example, Russia last year lowered their income tax rate to 13%. And the idea was that they will raise even more taxes because more people will pay them, even though the tax rate is lower. So I think that's an idea of a good. Another one I would just add would be maybe Viktor Orban's inflation targeting policy, which he recently adopted, which is to lower the inflation rate down towards 2% gradually over the next year or two. That's a good policy.
Good. I think, Max, we're going to come back to this point at the end of the show.
Okay.
I hope so. Good. We are traveling to Prague. And the time is the 26th of September 2000. And you're going to see a couple of shocking pictures, so the footage is pretty shocking. And your job is going to be, your task is going to be to come up with the narration afterwards. Okay, so what do you think happened in Prague 1.5 years ago? Would you roll the tape, please? Right. So, Victoria, any comments on this?
People must have been really furious about something because they tried to smash McDonald's shop windows, and there were even a few injured. So.
And the riot police came?
Yes.
So it must have been demonstration against what? You mentioned a very important sign that was above the shop window, and they smashed the windows of this. So what do you think? Can you connect it to any movements? Kata.
Maybe it was against globalization.
I love you for this. I love you for this, because this is going to be our next topic. What is globalization? And I'm not interested in your feelings at this point, just a very matter-of-fact definition, if you can come up with one. Szabolcs.
Well, I think this is the standardization of the world economy, if I wanted to put it briefly.
The standardization of the
world's
world
economy. Yes.
And when do you think it started? You have an idea?
Well, maybe 15 or 20 years ago.
Right. Victor, please. Thank you, Szabolcs.
I don't know, maybe it's an international political and economic and cultural unity. Or
Uh-huh. Would anybody like to add anything to it, Kata or Victoria? No? Max, do you agree with those two guys, or you would like to add something to it?
I absolutely agree. I think those were very well stated perspectives. I would define it as trade, social, political, cultural, just trade.
Right. Okay. Now we're going to travel to Canada. And the date is the 20th of April, 2001. And Group 1, your task is to listen for a protester, an angry protester and his words. Group 2, you're going to listen to the Canadian Prime Minister's words, Mr. Chrétien's words, and his point and ideas. Would you roll the tape, please?
People have come here to talk about their pain and their misery and their anger and their fear. But they did not come here to talk about violence.
In a democracy, peaceful protest and peaceful demonstration are fundamental rights. I welcome those who have come to Quebec City to make known their views on how best to advance the social and economic interests of our fellow citizens. But violence and provocation is unacceptable in a democracy. The type of behavior that we have seen outside this afternoon by small groups of extremists is contrary to the democratic principle we all hold dear.
Right, so the protesters' words. Szabolcs, could you catch them?
Yes, he said they didn't have violent intentions. They just want to say their opinion.
So they didn't want violence,
yes,
right?
Violence.
And they came here
To talk about their pain, their misery, anger, and fear.
Good, thank you very much. And Mr. Chrétien's words. He had a very nice French accent, Canadian French accent. Victoria, please.
It's that in a democracy, peaceful protest and demonstration are fundamental rights, but he was not satisfied with what he had seen before outside. So he said a few extremists opposed democracy by being violent.
By being violent. Thank you very much. Excellent. Now, we come to another point in connection with globalization. People are very much afraid of this. And what are the fears? Can you break it down into sub-points? So why is this, why are these protests? Victor, please.
For instance, the nations will lose their own culture and there will appear a mass culture.
So mass culture will take over?
Yes, will take over.
So that's one fear, fundamental fear, I would say. Victoria?
It's just, we've just broken it down to techniques and politics and economics and culture. So there are these main parts of globalization. And if you just think about it being very, like, spreading to the whole world, it is kind of uniting everything. So people fear that our own national industries crash, things like that. Anything that's characteristic.
And what are your own feelings towards? Because we were talking about keeping a sort of distance, but we are involved. So how do you feel about it, Kata?
I really don't like it because I like the differences between cultures, and if they had disappeared, I think I would be very disappointed, as Victoria said.
Right. Would anybody like to comment on this? Szabolcs, please?
Well, I feel that this is inevitable. So we cannot like it, but we can't do anything against it.
Right. Thank you very much for this cue. So I'm turning to Max. Is globalization a blessing or a burden?
Well, I think it's exactly what was just said. It's inevitable. It's like saying, is the weather a blessing or a burden? It's trade and exchange of cultures has been going on from the beginning of cultures. That's what creates a culture. So I agree that it can endanger certain aspects of our own identities, but it creates a way in which we can express these in a broader context also.
If you don't have anything to express, then what will happen?
I think that might be the basis of the fear.
Right. Do you think that a country can choose its own individual way?
I do. I think in economics we call it comparative advantage. Everybody has a comparative advantage. Each country, each cultural identity, each industry. And I think that this naturally comes to the forefront when there's more trade. Comparative advantage develops over time.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to jump to another topic, and we need this term, exchange rate. It's the value of the money of one country compared to the money of another country. Okay? And now I'm going to say the exchange rate between euro and forints. So 1 euro is, and would you like to jot it down, because then you will need your calculators. So 1 euro equals 254.75 forints, okay? And I just want to show that English for You is not a low-budget program, so we have lots of money to give away. And I would like you to choose one. Kata, would you, please? Wow, yes? Okay.
Oh, thank
right.
you.
And the first task is to try and calculate how many forints have you got. I mean, right? And try to make it very quickly. I hope it's not very difficult to come up with it. If you have the total, would you please put up your hand? Oh, good. Kata, first of all, what is the banknote you've got?
It's 20 euros. And it equals 5,095 forints.
Okay, so you can go to a fast food restaurant with that,
Yeah.
right? Szabolcs?
If I'm right, it's 12,737.
Would you hold up your banknote, please? And what have you got? It's a
50.
50
Is it
euro
right?
banknote, right?
It's a 10 euro
Banknote.
banknote, yes, and it's 2,547.5.
Good, excellent. And Victoria?
Mine is a €5 banknote, and it equals 1,273.
So who's got the most valuable banknote?
I think this one.
Szabolcs, this is your day. Congratulations. Excellent. And who's got this banknote, the 20 euro banknote?
Me.
Okay, so you're going to have a task. Would you just try and describe this side very quickly so what you can see?
I can see a bridge and a small map of Europe.
Excellent. Why do you think there's the bridge there?
I think it must be a Russian banknote because it's written there in their
No,
letters.
I think it's
Isn't it?
European. So
Okay.
it's the same everywhere.
All right.
Why do you think there's the bridge? Do you think that there's a metaphorical meaning of this bridge?
I
Szabolcs?
think that symbolizes the connection between the different countries.
Between countries, right. And would you look at the other side, please, Kata? And would you like to talk about that side? Between countries, right. And would you look at the other side, please, Kata? And would you like to talk about that side?
I see two windows. It's like the windows of a cathedral and
And what style?
Gothic.
Excellent. Gothic. So you have the 20 euro banknote, Gothic style. The 10, who's got the 10 euro banknote?
It's mine.
Do you recognize the style?
Don't really, maybe Roman.
Romanesque. Excellent. So there's a sort of
Yes.
demonstrating all the important styles. Thank you very much. Right. How many different banknotes, how many different denominations are there? Guess. Say a number. You have 4 out there. So how many do you think there are?
Maybe 10.
10.
Yes, 10.
10. Okay, fine. Let's check it. We're going to see this. Would you roll the tape, please? And let's check it, see if you were right. So would you roll the tape?
From the 1st of January, we will all be using euro banknotes. There are 7 different ones, ranging from 5 to 500 euro. The euro, our money.
Right, so how many?
7.
7. Okay, we have 7. Would you give me your 5 banknotes, right?
Yes.
And I have this 50, and if you look, no, this is 100. I'm the lucky
So,
one.
can we
And
change,
if you compare these 2 banknotes, you can see that the difference is huge. So the 5 euro banknote is considerably smaller than the 100 euro banknote. Can you see that? And I have never seen a 500 euro banknote. I wish I had one. Right? Okay, so it's going to be another footage, another clip, and your task is going to be about the advantages of the euro, and Mr. Duisenberg, working for the Central European Bank, is going to talk about it. So would you listen to that? Would you roll the tape, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, in general, central bankers, and in addition to the economic and political benefits which the euro brings, it will, I believe, help to change the way in which we think about one another as Europeans. With the new single currency, the people of Europe have one more fundamentally important thing in common: their money.
Okay, so what are the benefits? What are the advantages? Victoria, please.
It helps change our opinion about each other, like being Europeans, because we have the same money that
Yes.
connects us.
Good. And he started by saying that besides political and
economic.
is it economical
Economical.
or economic? Which one would you buy?
The first one.
Max, which one would you buy?
Economic.
Economic. Because economic means that something which is related to trade, money, whereas economical means that something that doesn't waste your time, doesn't waste your money. For example, a small economical car, right? So it's a huge difference. Max, do you think this sort of European community started on the 1st of January 2002 when we had those banknotes?
Well, I think it's another step towards the unification of Europe. It's a significant step. I think the common community has been gradually evolving for many years.
Right, so it's not on January the 1st, so it's a process. Right, thank you very much. Your special area is inflation theory. Now, I checked the dictionary, and to inflate means to fill something with air. You can inflate a balloon. So this is your special area, inflation theory, or it's a little bit different?
Well, there's a lot of jargon, specific language that's used only in a science. And inflation in the context of the economic science doesn't mean blowing air, although you might think of it that way sometimes. It means a rise in the general price level, the aggregate price level.
Thank you very much. You were referring to the economic jargon, terminology, and you're going to find word cards in your desk, and I asked you to check those words. So this is the time to come up with the explanation. Kota, I would like to see your word card, inflation,
Yes.
and would you just try and define this?
That's a rise in price levels resulting from an increase in the amount of money and credit relative to the available goods.
Thank you very much. I wish I understood this, but it sounded very professional, so it must be okay. Szabolcs, would you hold up your word card, please?
It's money supply, and this is the amount of money that is available for the participants of economy in one country.
So all the money that is available
Yes.
at a certain time. Thank you very much. Victor, please.
This is central bank, and every country has a central bank, and it has three main tasks, like print the banknotes and the accounts of the trade banks to control those accounts, to keep those accounts, and the third one was to control the interests.
Control the interests.
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. Victoria, what have you got?
Mine is GDP. It's short for Gross Domestic Product. And it's an index number that represents the total market value of all goods and services in a country during a given year, but foreign income is not included.
Foreign income is not included. Obviously, you're using your notes. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, fine. Good. Now, we're going to have three lines on a chart. And the first line is GDP growth rate. The second is money supply growth rate. And the third is inflation rate. And I would like you to identify those three lines on a chart. Now, it's going to be a very difficult task, I must say. So, yes. So here we have three different colors. Here we have a black, a pink, and a green-colored line. Which one do you think represents what? And you can see that this is a period from 1981 on the horizontal line to 2000, and on the vertical line you can see percent. And here you can see 1991. So what do you think about the black line? Which of the three?
Maybe.
Yes?
I'm not sure, and I'm not too good at reading these kinds of things, but I think the black line might be money supply, because it's
but it was
least.
absolutely down in 1991.
Yes.
It was a terrible year. Thank you very much. Could we have the next chart? And over to you, Max. And you have roughly 1 minute to talk about this. We have the labels here, so you can see that the black one is the GDP growth and the other one is the inflation. So, Max, would you like to talk about it?
Yes, sure.
You can come out.
Okay. Thank you, Victor. Well, the black line is the GDP line, and you can see, as Victor is saying, that it goes down after the transition in 1989. It was here. See, now this is 0% growth, and this is a drop below zero and further, and then it rises back up slowly in the later years. Now, the other lines are the money supply growth and the inflation rate, and you can see how the inflation rate rose very high. And we tend to think that was because the government did not have sufficient money, and so it printed the money to cover its expenditure. This high money supply printing, we tend to think, causes the inflation rate to be high. And there is a certain theory which suggests that a high inflation rate can also cause a low growth rate of GDP. So bringing down the inflation rate is a really good idea because it may even help the GDP growth rate to be higher.
Max, thank you very much for this. And I think we have learned a lot. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, and see you guys next week. It's going to be again English for you. Bye-bye.